Hey everyone, Mr. Happy here, and in this video, I'm going to be giving you an overview on the live letter number 78. I made sure to remember it because it seems like the people on the desk had a hard time remembering it. Either that or they're so tired that reading the Roman numerals is just getting exhausting at this point, because I know that's how I feel. Anyway, live letter number 78 focused on patch 6.5 part 1. Had some big surprises in there, still some question marks about a few things, but overall the part 1 live letters are, they're normally very tame. And I have to say this every time because people come into every live letter expecting it to be this massive revelation. But I will say this, the revelations we did get in here are awesome. And I think a lot of people are going to be very pleased about some of the simpler things that are happening in patch 6.5, as opposed to the major updates, which are all, in my opinion, kind of in line with expectation. So, number 1, the patch name is Growing Light, and it will officially be hitting early, and Yoshi P emphasizes early October. This is in line with my prediction. For those who don't know, I usually predict patches about 19 weeks apart with the occasional 20-week expectation, since we know they give the dev team an extra week's vacation in the summer and in the winter. So technically October 3rd or 10th, I think, meets that early October, although I think 10 starts to lead more towards mid, given how their previous definitions work. So since he put that emphasis on early, we're going to go ahead and table that in for October 3rd as my final predicted date. So that is going to be for part 1 of Growing Light, but for 0.5 patches, they actually break it into 2 parts, part 1 and part 2. Now, part 2 has had a more widely varied release window. Sometimes it's kind of the traditional release window. Sometimes it's like 10 weeks. This time it looks like it's going to be something more along the lines of about 15 weeks, because as you can see at the bottom of the screen, it is releasing mid-January 2024. So that's a little later than I expected. My original prediction was December, following the 8 to 10 week schedule they normally do. Mid-January says 15 weeks approximately. So I'm assuming they're doing that to fill the gap a little bit more. And given what we know about the actual release content from the rest of the live letter, I can kind of see what they're going for, but it's gonna be kind of a slow winter season. So fortunately, we've got other stuff to keep ourselves occupied during that time. So, for those who need a full schedule of how everything looks between FanFest and whatnot, I know I'm kind of blocking the patch 6.5, but I mean, you can see it well enough. So, we're currently doing FanFest. Early October will be 6.5 main scenario part 1, plus a few other miscellaneous updates. Then you have the London Fan Festival right after that in October. That's going to be October... October 21st. Yes, I remember. It doesn't say here, but I remember. It's October 21st for that. And then late October, probably the Tuesday after the London Fan Fest, will be patch 6.51, which they do detail the contents on a little bit later in this very live letter. Then we have early January. I forgot the exact date for Japan, but early January for that. I think it's like the 6th or something. And then mid-January for 6.55, which will wrap up our main scenario and tie us into how we are going to get to 7.0 Dawn Trail. Now, of course, throughout the point 1 live letter, part 1 live letter, they usually give us high-level information like, oh, there's this, and this, and this, and this, and this, and this. And they don't really say a whole lot about it. And that's really what follows suit. New main scenario quest. Oh my goodness. Broken up into 2 parts because of the 6.5 patch schedule. So again, October and mid-January to get the whole thing. A few screenshots, Ishtola, just chilling in Vritra's room right there. And then there's another one where Zero and Reen are both in the first together. Of course, Zero making it to the first doesn't really surprise me very much. But it's a cool thing to see. It's nice to be back on the first, and it's good to see that guy has been replaced. No, I'm kidding. That's not that simple. They got coffee biscuits to share and stuff. Either way, those are the 2 screenshots we got for the MSQ. Curious to see what that dynamic in particular is going to look like, because I'm sure Reen could teach Zero a thing or two about humanity and whatnot. Now, this was a nice little surprise. In 6.55, we are going to be getting our Endwalker Tribal Alliance quest. They skipped this in Shadowbringers, but they are indeed bringing it back. The Omicron, the Loporrits, and the Arcasadara are all going to come together for one grand finale quest. So if you haven't been doing all of your tribal quests throughout Endwalker, it only takes about 2 or 3 weeks of dailies to get through them all simultaneously. It's maybe a little bit longer, but it's not that big of an endeavor. You can level your crafters, your gatherers, and combat jobs with these as well, so it's definitely not a bad idea to get through them. They give us some not really major screenshots here, just the Loporrits in a little radio studio and a Loporrit talking to one of the Arcasadara. I forgot his name. I think he's the one we raced in the Arcasadara quest line near the end. But I forgot the names. It's been so long. Tataru's Grand Endeavor continues. I'd assume it's also coming to a close in 6.55. And I'm excited for that because some of the storylines there have been endearing. And they gave us 2, as they say, nothing burger screenshots. Their own words, not mine, that don't really tell us anything. Hildebrand, of course, we need to wrap that up for Endwalker as well. He's surprised at something. Brandy Hildy's off on the side, so that's going to be a fun time. And then, of course, we have our good old buddy Godbert making his appearance as well. So, you know, it's fun little hijinks. I've really enjoyed the Endwalker Manderville quest, so I'm looking forward to that. Manderville weapons. I'm going to show you a screenshot. This screenshot, what I need you to do, put a chat bubble over Geralt's head and have it say Tomestones again, and then put a chat bubble over Godbert's head and say Tomestones again. Because what else? And then you just have Godbert evolving into Uber Godbert. Whatever his Pokemon evolved to. There you go. Uber Godbert. Anyway, Splendorous Tools, that's going to be in 6.51, so that's going to be, you know, the couple weeks later after the patch initially releases. And we've got Granault and Moena living out a very different fantasy than Geralt and Rowena over on the source. But I think that's how Geralt wishes it would actually go. Now, our new dungeon is the Lunar Subterrane, a reference to Final Fantasy IV. And they said something during the live letter, and my memory is not always the greatest, but this is a screenshot of the Lunar Subterrane, and obviously we would expect it's on the 13th moon. You know, obviously the dark red-ish in the back, very reminiscent of the red moon itself. And I'm colorblind, so I don't know why I'm acting like I know that's red back there. That's just the closest guess that I can get to. Shut up. But he also mentioned that these platforms are very familiar as well, and I'm just like, huh? I kind of remember them from, like, Mount Golg, I guess. When I saw that, that was the only other dungeon that really came to mind. So, I don't know. Maybe that's supposed to be a reference. I don't know. It just said that the platforms look very similar to something else. And then we got this second screenshot here just later in the dungeon. Looks nice. Looks nice. Oh, wait a minute. Mount Golg. No, the World of Darkness, this kind of reminds me a little bit more of World of Darkness. Either way, it's almost certainly on the 13th moon. It doesn't matter. I don't have to sit here and try to think about it too much. My memory's not as good as it used to be. New trials. So there's actually something kind of missing from this, but I say only kind of because we think we know where the other one's going to be. But the main baddie here is going to be Zeramis, of course. We've been leading up to this, all of Endwalker's post-expansion content. And the Abyssal Fracture, featuring Zeramis and, of course, Zeramis Extreme, will be our final major new trial in Endwalker. So looking forward to that, especially looking forward to the music, especially after Rubicante and Golbez have both been bangers. I mean, I'm a big fan of the Barbariccia one as well. But, I mean, those two in particular, bangers, as far as I'm concerned. Now, there isn't a trial mentioned here, but we do know there is one more trial in the 6.5X series. There is actually a trial available at FanFest against Asura. And we assume, given some of the context that we've had, that that will be part of the Hildebrand quest, much like the Yojimbo Battle Challenge was a part of the Hildebrand quest in the prior ones. Now, that is just an assumption. I'm mostly sure that's where it will be. But we do get that as a for-fun trial. It's not like a hard mode or an extreme. It's just a trial that's, you know, kind of chill, and it'll pop up in your trial roulettes, maybe occasionally. But that's not mentioned here, but we do know that for a fact that that's coming later in 6.5X, probably in 6.55, because that's after all 3 FanFests have actually taken place. Our new Unreal. I really didn't think they were going to choose who they chose here. I thought they were going to shy away from this, given its reputation. But they went with Thornton. Now, Thornton is inarguably one of the hardest extremes that has ever existed, and thus an Unreal that sinks you to minimum item level is equally as frightening. Now, I will say this. I think it was the hardest given the time it came out. I don't think its difficulty has translated much into the current patch. Outside of outgoing damage and a few small things that might cause trouble, I don't think nowadays this is going to be that bad. They also said they adjusted it to better match the player skill of the average player. So I don't know if that's an insult to the average player or an acknowledgement of the era it was made versus the era it's being re-released into now. But we'll be the judges of that, because they always say they've rebalanced these Unreals, and they always have, to me, have kind of felt similar. Like Zervin actually doing first Soar has shown everyone Soar was never that bad, and that we were just really bad at the game back then. That's why people wanted to skip it. But we also have more markers now, which definitely helps. But besides the point, this probably won't be that bad, but I'm hoping secretly that it is that bad, so less people put stuff on the market board up against me from Unreal. I'm trying to make money, yo. I need this to be hard. I need people to not be able to do it or to be scared to do it. I gotta make that money, okay? As far as I'm concerned. All right. Anyway, moving on. That's our new Unreal, the Singularity Reactor Unreal. And the new Alliance raid, this was as predicted, Thalia, although it has an E added to it, I suppose, just from what people have been telling me. This was predictable just because of the lore of the other two and the naming convention of them. So, yeah, it was kind of expected for the naming convention. And I believe wind and water would be the final two elements for these ones. This one would be water, and then this one would be wind, most likely. So, yeah. We'll get to fight the remaining bosses, finish up that story, and I'm excited to see how that goes. So, moving forward, we've got a bunch more stuff here. I'm just going to skip ahead. Duty support for Stormblood. Now, all of the MSQ dungeons will be playable using duty support. So, it's just the trials, which, who knows, they might work on next expansion. They almost kind of alluded to it during the opening keynote yesterday without outright saying it, but we'll see. Either way, yeah, there's not much to say about this, other than, you know, that it's going to be there now. Then we have, we got Ehrenwald showing up in a dungeon. He'll be our tank for Scala, of course. Our third variant criterion, no, they didn't talk about rewards at all. Yes, I'm disappointed they didn't talk about rewards, but I'm also hoping that it's because they were at FanFest and technically they only get about 45 minutes because they have to translate Japanese to English, so they just kind of crammed. This will be in 6.51. So 6.5 will come out. We'll do the first part of the MSQ. We'll do whatever is on release. And then 2 weeks later, we do have variant criterion. Makes sense why they're not waiting for a 0.55 in this particular case, because they don't need to give us 8 weeks to get any gear, because anyone who's doing this could, you know, you could be gearing from now until October, as far as I'm concerned. And what's going to be nice is people are going to be a lot more flexible in this one, because people who do this kind of content, the biggest struggle is that in the 7 weeks approximately that you have between the Savage release and this, for the even numbered patches, is at best you have one job that's geared. And yeah, you can do it with a lesser geared job, but that never feels good to like say, oh, let me just take my lesser geared job in and through. This, so much time will have passed that people will be a lot more flexible. And regardless of the reward structure, I do hope that this encourages people during the downtime to go back and do the other two. Because despite the reward complaints, it is fantastic content. It's just not incentivized. We'll see if anything changes about this, though. We are going to Alualo Island, I believe is what the pronunciation was. It'll have normal, criterion, savage. You don't need to do the other two in order to unlock this one. And we're going to be joining Matsuya. I sure hope he doesn't ask me to sell fish again, because if he does, we are literally never going to get all 12 paths in this dungeon. That is just a fact. I will not be able to sell fish. I got one fish. I will sell one fish, and that is it. Okay. And yeah, just some screenshots of the island. Looks beautiful. I'm looking forward to exploring it. And of course, with all the lush vegetation from the graphical update. Yeah, he said he wanted to see it with the graphical update in place, which is funny because technically the graphical update won't be in 6.51, you know? So it's just funny to see it kind of with all the lush greenery and everything. Or at least Yoshi said he wanted to see it with all like the lush greenery and everything. Anyway, they are going to do some minor job adjustments for PvE and PvP. Nothing major. The expansion's around the corner, but they're probably just going to buff some jobs that aren't doing as much damage. That's what they said. So, anyway, moving on from that, we do have PvP updates. Series 5 will begin. As a reminder, Series 4, your current Battle Pass-esque thing, does not end until 6.5, which is early October. Now, I say that because the next piece of information is confusing. The season, which is the competitive season, will run from 6.48 until 6.51. That's because we're currently in the 7th season, which will run until 6.48, which is quite a long time, actually. And so just to make sure that the next season's not too short, they're going to give it those extra 2 weeks for 6.51. So just to be, you do not need to have the Battle Pass done before 6.48. You have it until 6.5, and then the new series is at 6.5 until the expansion. I'm going to say it a million times because the series season thing is endlessly frustrating. All right? And I don't think anyone, every time I get the question, wait, does that mean I have to? No, that's not how it works. All right. Crystalline Conflict. This was a shock. So first of all, they didn't show us this, but they're going to be doing some UI updates, especially while you're actually in combat. The UI is going to have some new things to give you certain information or whatnot. Big fan of that. And number 2 is a new arena. I really didn't think we were going to get a new arena this expansion, but I guess they're having a lot of fun making these Crystalline Conflict arenas and making it so that the mode feels more alive by constantly updating it. The Red Sands. Yeah, I mean, it's either antlion traps or quicksands or things like that. But it's a nice, simple, good-looking map. I like it. A lot more open than our other maps that we have as well, minus the few little areas we have here that block off the spawn point or provide line of sight right around the spawn point. So, really interested in seeing how this one's going to go, because I think Clockwork, what's it called? The Clockwork Castle Town or something like that. I can never say it because I'm dumb. I thought it was a great map. I thought it was a lot of fun, and it focused on fun more than competitiveness. And I think it actually works for that map, because we have some maps that are more competitive and some maps that are more fun. And I don't know. I've played a bunch of matches on it, and I actually really, really like it. So that's all I'm going to say. Another Island Sanctuary update, basically identical in most ways to the 0.4 update, other than the outdoor furnishing thing, which, you know, they're not going to re-release outdoor furnishing. New Sanctuary ranks and visions, new gathering area in the wild, new materials, craftable items, crops, animals, isleware, handicraft structures. You know, identical to the 0.4 update, pretty much. They did show us a new structure, which kind of looks like a chapel or a church, or I don't know what it's supposed to be. There it is right there. And your new animal for the pastures, which is a Morble of all things. Somebody in the crowd did shout, we need more pasture size. Yoshi P said he would give that feedback to the team, but that he couldn't guarantee that they could actually do it, which, given there's way too many animals for the size of the pasture now, is something that probably needs to happen. I mean, there were already too many in the patch before, so yeah, it needed to happen before. They're also releasing a... This is funny. So they're releasing a new feature overall for it called Felicitous Favors. Now, this is basically going to be a feline NPC, the furball NPC, that will ask you for individualized requests every week for handicraft production. What this is this is a stop going on Discord or Reddit and looking up what's best to do for the week and figure it out yourself. That's literally what it is, because that's what everyone does. Everyone just waits for like the spreadsheet to be updated about like what the best thing to do is, and now they're like, no, we're going to give everyone their own individualized requests. And if you do these particular ones, then you get a new special token that's tradable for exclusive rewards. Now, do I think that changes much of anything? No, because once you know what the individualized requests are, you'll just do those if that's what you're after. But it does kind of cut into that whole aspect of it to some capacity. So there you go. That's another new feature. And it only unlocks after you finished the new progression in 6.5. So you are going to have to spend a little bit of time before you'll unlock this feature. You won't have it right away. The Fall Guys collaboration, in case you've forgotten, we don't know when in 6.5, and hopefully they'll have a video sometime in the near future. But yeah, this was one of the biggest shocks to me that came out of the opening keynote, but I actually think it's going to be a lot of fun. The real question is it permanent? And given that they don't say anything about it being temporary, I assume yes. The answer is it will be a permanent addition to the Gold Saucer. But obviously it doesn't say that, so I'm not going to say for sure, but I'm under the impression, given that they don't even talk about it, that they're just expected to be permanent. They'll say for certain at some point in the future, because they know people are going to be asking about it and whatnot. I think it's going to go the ways of the Monster Hunter collaboration, to be honest. I mean, why would it's not like Fall Guys would ever be like, no, take it out of the game. We don't want it there anymore. And if you're going to put that much work into it, like, that's the level of something you leave in the game, like, permanently. That's not something that you do for fun and just take it out, because that's going to take them a long time to, like, do it and get it right and make sure that it's proper. Now, miscellaneous updates were very exciting. The first one, simple, new custom deliveries. It's actually Margaret, or Magrat. Is it R before G or G before R? They had someone run up on stage and say, that's the woman who never sleeps. Yeah, she's an overworking Margaret. Yeah, it's I was like, well, it's not Margaret, it's Margaret. Yeah, there you go. Yeah, she's an NPC from the Studium, I believe, that just basically overworks and never sleeps. And we're going to have custom deliveries for her. People are like, wow, I didn't see that coming. I was like, did you see Andon coming? Because I certainly didn't. So I'm never surprised at these custom delivery NPCs anymore, to be completely honest. New consecutive ethereal reduction function for collectibles. That's really nice. You know, just being able to do the consecutive ethereal reduction. That's a heavily requested thing. And then green dot indicators on newly logged fish in the fish guide. Also a nice little thing to have for those of you out there who can't keep track of which fish are brand new. So that's very welcome. Now here's where the loudest applause were gotten. It was on this slide. Number 1, the ability to store optional or Mog Station items in the armoire. Yes, so all those items that you have from the Mog Station that you clearly, obviously you're very controlled and organized, and you don't buy everything off the Mog Station every single time that hits. You know, you buy occasionally, and you're very responsible. Clearly, you can fit those very few items that you've clearly purchased over the years into the armoire. Now, this has been a heavily requested feature for a long time, and so this is going to free up a lot of glam dresser space, or I mean a moderate amount of controlled glam dresser space for those of you out there who have the self-control to buy only occasionally from the Mog Station. So bear that in mind. That's a big one. That got a huge round of applause from everyone in the crowd, who also were very clearly responsible buyers off the Mog Station. But the next thing got the loudest applause of the entire live letter, and that was the introduction of item level restrictions for Duty Roulette Alliance raid based on level. So the higher the level you are and the more 24-mans you have unlocked, you will have to meet the minimum item level requirement for the higher tier Alliance raids in order to queue into the roulette at all. That means no more item level cheesing and getting Labyrinth of the Ancients over and over and over and over and over again. People have been asking for this for quite some time. People actually want this for a few other things to maintain the longevity of the content and make it so it's a little bit more authentic. They want something not similar to this, but some sort of item level involvement with some of the other Duty Roulettes that make them not as face stompy, especially the final boss of Endwalker. I know you can like skip most of the final phase, and they're like you can skip entire phases in certain other fights as well that kind of diminish them to a capacity. So I know people want some other things done here, but this is good for the sake of the queuing. And so I'm glad to see this. I've actually been getting a lot of not Crystal Tower raids as of late. I actually got a Glia in the roulette the other day. Blew my mind. So I'm glad to see this as somebody who does actually frequently do roulettes. I've shied away from Alliance for that very reason, but it also means I'm going to get more of the near raids, which I think are too slow. So I guess it's a double-edged sword for me in this particular case. Now, what was the last thing on the slide? I don't even remember. Oh, they went to another slide. Yeah, the option, this isn't a permanent change for everyone. The option to sort teleport destinations by expansion. So essentially, you can leave it the way it is now, or you can choose to display it more like this, where you have, you know, Realm Reborn, Heavensward, Stormblood, Shadowbringers. I'm sorry, here it's like Heavensward, Stormblood, Shadowbringers, Endwalker, and Dawn Trail. Those 5 are the last one on the far right's actually Dawn Trail. So they got room for 3 more. Also, whoever did this screenshot, why 4.2 million? Like you knew. I'm surprised you didn't just do 4269000. Like you might as well. Like that's not a random number. Although, so I'm live on Twitch right now. Given what just happened in my chat, which I did see. The number 42, also hilarious to have tuned into at this exact moment. So that's pretty funny. Anyway, moving on from that, chat will understand that joke. You can't see them on the YouTube side of things, but chat will most certainly understand what I mean by that. And then, yeah, so that's if you like this one better, you can go with that. Or you can, you know, keep it the way it is now. I know I'm going to keep it the way it is now. Because I'm just perfectly fine with it. Oh, yeah, and then the new mount for collecting all of the trial mounts from throughout Endwalker. Very surprised at this. I'll tell you what it is for those who don't recognize it. That is Amano's original artwork of Bahamut, I believe. I'm surprised after collecting Lynx's the whole time that it's a dragon holding a chair, but I'm almost certain that's an Amano artwork of Bahamut. I'm like mostly sure. But either way, it's cool. I like it. It's cool mount. It's also huge. Look at the size of the character, the Warrior of Light. Look at the size of the mount. It's enormous. But they said specifically, yes, this is based on an old Amano artwork, so some people will recognize it, some people won't. And yeah, I don't know. I like it as a reward still. I was just surprised. I thought it was going to be like a 5-headed Hydra or something like that. I don't know. I thought it was going to be some. Oh, I thought it was going to be like a Chimera model, but with like the multiple heads and stuff like that. I thought it was going to be something along those lines. For those who missed the news during the opening keynote, the free trial is being expanded to include Stormblood. This will happen when patch 6.5 releases in early October. So we're going to have Free Cobb, Fruwu, Budget Legends, Eureka, Ferala Frigo, Shinfryu. I'm trying to remember them all, but there's more. There's the Omega, there's the Freescape. I don't know. I'm sure we could come up with more if we really wanted to. But yeah, there's going to be all sorts of free stuff being added to the free trial, so it's massive. It's absolutely massive. I almost want to make a free trial character just to do all that stuff on it, just to have it done. So yeah, and then that was the end of like the content related stuff. There'll be more in the part 2. We'll probably get some more insight into some of that stuff. And then just as a reminder, this is the schedule for the patch releases. Same as before, but now filled in with the stuff we actually saw during the live letter. Then they did an announcement section, which was real quick. It was just merchandise and stuff. The new Garland GLIS mount. This was, this is part of the Fan Festival commemorative item purchase. I think it's account wide as well. $33.30, 2-seater mount. Alpha always has his own seat, but then somebody else gets to ride on the back. And then there were other items. There's the superhero landing emote. If you've been keeping up with like the Mog Station and whatnot, you already know about most of this stuff. Yeah, the Advent of Light emote, that's on the Mog Station right now as well. And then there's the Fantastic Cheer set, has some new colors, and it's a set all together, green, violet, and bright. So if you want to, you can buy just the specific glow stick colors, or you can just buy them all together for like $4.50. And I know people love this emote, so I expect this one will be a pretty hot seller. Also another FanFest commemorative item. Then we have the Forge Ahead album. If you missed it on YouTube, they've been posting videos of To the Edge and Flow, just 2 things that are featured on this arrangement album. Total of 19 tracks. There's piano arrangements by Keiko, band arrangements by the Primals, and more. It's going to release December 2023, so another 5 months away. The cost is $45. Then we get into the crazy merchandise after that. I saw this on Twitter. The turntable. Now, from what I understand, this $1,700 turntable is actually approximately like an $1,000 or $1,100 turntable or something like that. That's then upscaled because it's branded with Final Fantasy XIV stuff. So it actually is apparently a very high-end, good turntable. But for the cost, you could get a better one. So you're really buying into the aesthetic. You're really buying into the branding of this one in particular. So yeah, and it's not that ridiculously far off what its actual cost would be. I had to ask a bunch of people with more musical acumen than me, and a bunch of people are talking about it on social media as well. So I'm going to take their word for it and just regurgitate it to you. Then they have some high precision art pre-orders, which were previously only available in Japan, and now will be made for North America as well. They are very expensive. The price isn't listed here, but I've already seen people talking about the price of it over on Twitter, and those are... I forgot. I should remember what the prices are, but I really don't. And then there's the 10th anniversary site, which is going to be updated. Don't forget, we have the 10th anniversary Moogle event, August 27th, and the Rising, our yearly event, the 10th anniversary special. Fingers crossed for a Wandering Minstrel minion. That's all I'm saying. And I think that brings it to a close officially. I don't think they had anything else to talk about. Yeah, they brought Matt Hilton back on at this point. Yoshida just thanks everyone for being with him on this journey. For him, it's been 13 years. For many of them, for many of the people in the crowd, it's only been 10 years. But either way, he's grateful to have done the journey, and he hopes to be saying the same thing at the 20, 30, and 40-year anniversaries of the game. As he said during the opening keynote yesterday, he wants to work on Final Fantasy XIV till the day he dies, and then maybe even after that. Whatever that means. It's got a Futurama that, hey, they just started a new season of Futurama. Maybe we get the Yoshi P head in a jar situation. But then we can't hear his boots as he stomps through the air. And let me tell you, I've heard those boots. Those boots are scary. All right, them boots are scary. But that is going to be it for the summary of the patch 6.5 part 1 live letter number 78. Thank you for watching this video. Be sure to like, favorite, subscribe, and share, and stay tuned. We'll be having all sorts of discussions about speculation and stuff regarding the opening keynote, stuff for 6.5, all that good jazz while we're waiting on the next content update. So I'm going to get back to my Twitch stream. PvP tournament's going to be on soon, and I don't want to miss that. Anyway, I'll see you in the next one. And until then, take care.